All right. Good morning, Prince George's. We are here today um, having coffee with Baker. About to go back live. He's going to come up shortly. I got my little guy right here trying to share his goldfish with me. Thank you, John. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to have a conversation this morning. And let's get to
Hey,
it. How's your morning going thus far?
very good. Who's
Good.
that in the background talking?
It's me. I'm about to come on camera in a second.
Oh no, not you, the children.
Oh,
Is that
that was
John?
John. Yeah.
I thought it was John.
hmm Yep. So I know we had a great conversation, great crowd on what was that, Saturday night?
Saturday night. It was really good.
Had about what, 130, 40 people on here. It
That
was
was
a
amazing. That was
great
amazing. Great
conversation.
too.
Folks want more lives. I'm assuming that
I
you'll
like live.
assuming that you'll continue to do this once you become county executive again. I know that's something that folks have been asking about too, is how you plan to effectively communicate with the residents of Prince George's County. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I think using this new technology is absolutely amazing. So I plan to do more of this so we can keep in touch directly with the residents and the citizens of the county. So I'm looking forward to it. This is when I was in there before. We were going out actual live, going to events. But this way, we can reach a broader audience, and even if our residents are not in the county at the time, if they're out of state or out of country, they can log in and have their questions answered. So, looking forward to doing more of this.
Excellent. So anybody who's watching out there, so we got some folks on Twitter, some folks on Facebook, or I guess it's X now. Um, please type your comments um, in the comment section, and it should show up for us over here, and then we'll put your question on the screen and have him answer it live. So there are, well, yesterday, we received notice that there was a robocall or something that was going around saying that you dropped out the race. And I know we were all surprised to hear that. What was your thoughts on that?
One, considering the fact that over these especially couple of last 3 weeks, we've seen such great momentum for the campaign. Um, I've been around long enough to know when you start to see that momentum growing and the excitement about a campaign, then people will try and do anything to throw a roadblock in there. And I found it interesting in the area where we're seeing our numbers go up, and we're very competitive with a number of the other candidates. That's the area where these these rumors spread. I should also say, it was an area where I've traditionally won in my races for county executive. It was an area that I represented when I was in the House of Delegates. And so I think it was targeted to make sure our voters won. Um, you know, Thought that, I was no longer on the ballot and they could choose another candidate or stayed home. And so I was glad that we forcefully and immediately addressed the issue. A committed resident of that area notified me that someone had gotten a robocall, and so we immediately put it out there. But we're feeling great about the campaign. It just shows that our momentum is working, that people are scared, and that we're peaking at the right time. So um, we're moving forward in this campaign. Everything is hitting on all cylinders. We've got one of the, just think about it. Why would you drop out after you got the biggest endorsement there is? And that is the women and men who protect us every day in every facet of Prince George's County. I'm talking about our fire EMS, our 911 operators, those courageous people in our parks, park and planning throughout the county who keep us safe as we're walking and jogging and playing. Our deputy sheriffs, all of those folks have now come out and said, this is the campaign that we need. This is the time, the person we need at this time to build our organizations back up, our departments back up, and to bring confidence to those people out there every day, putting their lives on the line. So, um, uh, and to get an endorsement from my good friend who I've worked with for over 30 years, Treasurer Derek Davis, somebody who understands the significance of not only the state budget, which he has to deal with, but the county budget and the importance of having a AAA bond rating and what it means to have somebody that the rating agencies trust, because we're going to have to make sure that we're able to borrow money to build the things that we need to do. And so this is the time to expand a campaign. It's not contracting. So I'm excited.
So there's a question here. It says, what made you want to come back into PG County politics and all the negativity that comes with this?
Yeah, that's. I'm glad they put their name in there because I would think it was one of my adult children that was asking me that question. That's just the reason. For the longest, at least for the last 6 years, when I've gone around the country teaching new county executives and new mayors what it's like to be county executive. And one of the questions comes up about, especially in this climate, nationally and locally, divisive politics. Just think about it. We have a national politics that is just corrosive. And then we have a county politics where we can't even elect a chair of our county council because it's that divided. But what I've said to people in the past is this is why we need good people to run. This is why we need good people to step forward. It is exactly in this time that you need folks who have the ability to bring people together, that's going to do the right thing no matter what. And so it's hard for me to tell other people from different states, whether it's Michigan or New York, that they should be doing that. And then I look here in this county and see, what we need to do to make it better, knowing that I have the background and the training to come in. And so even with all of that, I decided that, I was going to step into this gap and bring a positive attitude about how we govern, but be honest about it. That's the other thing. We have to be honest about where we are in order to move forward. So we can't pretend like, crime is not rising or that our economy is not doing what it should be doing, is stagnant. And that we need more, at this time, we need people who have the skill and judgment to do it. And so that led me actually to get involved because of that.
Excellent, excellent. So I saw you had your fresh gear on. I had to go change and put mine on too.
Yeah, I'm excited, and that's the other thing. This campaign is rolling. We got fresh gear. People are donating. Just think about this. I should have said this in that answer about, dropping out. We've seen our donations increase over the last 3 weeks. Just think about it. We started this campaign in December, and we set a goal of raising over $200,000. That's an ambitious goal, I know, but we've exceeded that. We raised over $100,000 for the first filing, but over the last 3 weeks, we've seen more and more people chip in with $50, $25, $100, $250 into the campaign, saying, "Hey, we want you to come back." And so I'm happy, and it allowed us to buy some gear.
And we needed it because it's cold out there. So I don't think we really got to dive into seniors. And, a lot of people have had questions about seniors and what your plans are to address some of their issues that they're having.
Yeah, as a senior, and I, qualify this, I'm now 66. I'm a senior. And I've spent the last 6 years understanding what we go through. It's different from going where you're building your career and your salary is changing every year. You're getting an increase to where you're on a fixed income. And I'm that way. I'm on a fixed income. And so you start noticing little things. One, the cost of groceries, especially the cost of prescription drugs. More and more of us are on some type of medication, but the copay keeps going up, and so our property taxes has a big impact on us. So here's what you know I've learned, and what we started to do in the past, and the things that I want to move forward in the future is, one, we had a program when I was county executive that I want to bring back and enhance, and that is to help those of us who are on a fixed income and can't afford the medicine, especially prescription drugs that we're going to be on for life, um, to help pay, help them with their copay. We can do that as a county. That's a direct benefit that we can help to make sure those who truly are in need are not making decisions about whether they eat, put gas in their car, or buy the full, buy the medicine they need. Um, you know, Kevin knows this because his father is my doctor, and so he's on me all the time about making sure I take the medicine correctly and the full amount that's given. And so we want everyone to do that. So helping with prescription drugs. The other thing is lowering our property taxes. As I said, our income is fixed, but we're on a fixed income if you're a senior or you're retired. Um, and so every time your assessment goes up on your house, which is great if you plan to, refinance it and use that money for the next 30 years. But most of us aren't, so we need to make sure our property taxes are lowered. And in order to do that, we have to build our commercial tax base. We have to get more businesses in here that are hiring people, to reduce our property taxes. And the final thing I would say, final two things, is quality of life. I know for me, I want to stay in Prince George's County. I chose this as my home. I not only grew up in the military, so I traveled around the world, but I was in the military, and so it was on purpose that I chose this as my home and where I want to raise my children. So I want to stay here, but I want some of the things that attract people to stay here. I want places to shop. I want places for entertainment, restaurants, shopping, all of those things, and diversity throughout, the choices here, so that my friends and my mom will want to come here from other places. And then the final thing is we need a greater choices for those of us who may decide that we want to live in a senior living area or community. We have some nice ones right now. We were at Riderwood yesterday, and it's great, but we need more of those, and we need more throughout the county. So one of the things I'm committed to is seeing that we build more of these senior housing that are, you know, that are what you would want, where you can live, shop right there on the facilities, go out and enjoy the county. But this is where we as the county can team up with the nonprofits, or even private developers to say, hey, we need more of this. We're going to help you with infrastructure, but also making sure there are greater choices. Because if we play a role in it as the county, it keeps the cost down for those who want to move in. There's some really nice facilities, and a lot of us look at the cost of it. And so I want to make sure we play a greater role in that. And then finally, make sure that our, family services and social services are offering the type of entertainment and amenities and park and planning, the type of things that we want to see as seniors. Now that we have some free time, because it's not just about us going to these facilities ourselves and seeing a show, or you know or going, arts, crafts, all of those things, but also, the lucky ones have grandchildren, and want to take them with them. So we want to make sure that the county is offering these amenities that we see elsewhere.
You're absolutely right. That's a lot of what we've been hearing out there from our senior community, or our our seasoned friends, because they're they're definitely friends of the campaign, and we love hearing from them.
Yeah.
So one other thing I wanted to talk about is education, and kind of going through what some of your priorities are for education.
We had a really good discussion on Saturday with some educators uh, who all happen to be in this discussion Latino and are teaching in our schools and have been here for a while and talked about some of the issues we face. So the first thing, anytime I talk about education now, it's about safety first. People are concerned about putting their children on our buses and in our schools. We've seen a number of incidents where, unfortunately, folks you know, have have seen young people bringing uh, things they shouldn't bring to schools, like guns, knives, and having the ability to make sure that every parents know that we're going to keep their child safe in our schools. So what do we do? I'm really pleased that the school system and the administration kept my suggestion, which was to put police officers in our schools because they have the ability not only to arrest, but they have the ability to investigate, and they're trained to do that. So we have these trained officers in our schools. We have metal detectors in our schools. It's unfortunate, but that's the fact of life these days for everybody around the country, not just here. But we also need to make sure the officers, the security staff at the schools is adequate. We have some very large high schools, and we have some smaller ones too, but we have some large high schools, and we need to make sure the security staff is adequate to make sure our kids are safe. Because that's the first thing. If you don't feel safe in an environment, you're not going to go in there and learn, or you're not going to go to school. The second thing around security, which I think is important, that a number of these teachers and the principal brought up, was that some of their kids are afraid to even come to school for fear of violence because of what's going on in the neighborhood. And what I said to them, and I'll say to you, is that's the reason why we put police officers in our schools. Because the one thing about the police, once they know of an incident or hear about something back in the neighborhood, they can then go and investigate what's going on in that neighborhood to make sure that we do that in the neighborhood safe. And then finally, academic rigor. Every person I know wants their children to be career ready and college ready. They want them to have a variety of opportunities, just like I want it for my kids. I have artists and a lawyer in my family. We wanted them to explore everything, but we also wanted them to have the option, if they choose not to go to a four-year institution, that they could come out with a skill. My oldest child, my son, and my youngest child, both are good at welding. They use it for their art, but that could be a skill they could take out. And so I've been committed to bringing back what we used to call vocational, VOTEC. We also have our P3 program, which looks at different skills levels, whether it's going into, auto mechanic, or it's going into, repairing your water and heater, which is a lot of money if you've ever had to repair it, to come out there to do that, cleaning the duct systems of houses, carpentry, which is now coming back as an artistic form and people want it. But we want our kids, culinary arts. One of the things about bringing MGM to Prince George's County was a commitment from MGM that they would look at hiring our children to come there and to work. So straight out of high school doing that. And then finally around that, around preparing our kids, is our K through 16 or K through 14. And that is our community college, where we built complete culinary arts facility there at the community college during my time as county executive, so that our kids could get a associate degree and a high school diploma at the same time. So expanding programs and opportunities for our kids to both go to four-year institutions or directly into work.
So I'm glad you mentioned MGM, because that's obviously something that a lot of people may not understand. It was, the perception is that it was sold to everybody as something that was going to boost education funding, yet they're saying that they don't see it. And I think that it's worth explaining it a little bit of how that MGM funding actually works for schools.
Yeah, for that's one of our biggest money makers for the county. Just think about it. Now that it is fully operational, Prince George's County gets somewhere around $47 million coming directly to the county. Of that $47 million, 25% by law must go to our education system, our K through 12, and our community college. That's by law. That's just straight there. That's a lot of money. We didn't have that money available to us when I was county executive because MGM was not fully operational. That's in addition to what the state does. The state, of course, this is a state county project, and the state takes the lion's share of that money, and then they send it back to us in the county uh, as part of our split from the 24 other counties. But in addition to that, um, we have $10 million that's set aside for what we call the impacted area around MGM. So that's the Oxon Hill, Fort Washington, all of that area around the impacted area that can be used for anything to benefit the community. So that can be used to help some of the things at our school system. Um, I know a number of times we redid football fields with that money. But here's where I think we can have a greater role in our education system. We need more money in our school system. We have a lot of challenges. We have a complex system here. We have kids who are coming out of COVID who still haven't caught up. So there's a need for the resources. We need to have social workers and therapists in our school system to help us with the things that are going on. So my proposal is the 25% that we set aside that directly goes to our school system, is not, you can change that. You can increase it. You just can't lower it. So why don't we use some of that money, especially in these fiscal hard times, rather than raising our property taxes, use some of that money that's coming from MGM that we directly control and have that put into our school system. So that's why when people hear me talk about funding the budget for our education system, that I say I would fully fund it because we would use those resources. And I know a number of callers, and this probably should answer this now. A number of folks have said, well, how do you fully fund the school system if we have $170 million budget deficit? And the way that I would do it is to take some of that direct impact dollars. So that MGM money is coming directly to us. Take some of that money, which is not coming from property taxes, it's coming off of our business income. Take some of that money and add to the 25% so that we can meet the challenges. Because let's face it, two things that will destroy your community: safety, people don't feel safe, they move, and our education system. And what we've seen over the last 6 years is that people in Prince George's County have moved elsewhere. That's a fact. We were once for decades, the most affluent African American county in the nation and probably the world. And now that's Charles County. That means people lost confidence in our ability to attract businesses, but to keep them safe. And so they went elsewhere. Well, we want to change that. We want people to come back to this county and feel safe. So that's how I would use the money for our school system.
So there have been, of course, some just lingering thoughts or perceptions regarding your last administration and education, right? And a lot of that centers around the superintendent of schools, but it also, included a lot of accomplishments too. And I want to actually play a video um, from your first administration, and then I will carry on with that topic. All right.
As county executive, our school system had gone from 132,000 children to 124,000 to where we are today at 133,000, and we're gaining each year. People are now putting their kids back because they believe that our school system now can offer them a chance for them to get a quality education. Our education system is the best it's been in almost 35 years. For the first time, our education budget is $2 billion. We as a county committed to give more money ourselves, not from the state, but from the county, to our education system. And it was hard. It was a hard-fought thing to do, but we did it as a county.
So, that certainly highlights a lot of the positives from that time. So I'll let you kind of talk about that from your perspective and just give your overall spill on education.
Yeah, I'm so pleased that you brought that up, Kevin, and it does come up. But if you look at Prince George's County under my administration, when we brought in, I fought hard to have the county executive be able to select the superintendent for two great reasons. One is, it is the biggest part of our budget, 62% of the county budget. So we want to know that the individual that's coming in here has the ability to really make a dynamic difference in the lives of our children. And the other is I want the superintendent to be part of our cabinet so they could see what we were doing across the county. And when I say see what we were doing across the county, I mean that as we make decisions on building houses in certain areas, those houses and community have an impact on our schools. If we decide that we're going to expand a road or close a sidewalk, it has an impact on our schools. So that's why it was important for me to have that superintendent be selected by the county executive. And I'm pleased that that didn't change after I left. So it meant that it was a policy that worked. But here's the thing that happened under Dr. Maxwell. Let's start with that one because he was the first superintendent that we picked. Dr. Maxwell became the first superintendent in almost 20 years to have a second tenure there. So that means you have these contracts, superintendents by law are 4-year contracts. Dr. Maxwell became the first person to have a 4-year contract and then have that contract renewed by the school board and negotiated by the school board. And then when he left, the person that took over him, Dr. Golson, had worked in the school system, had worked with Dr. Maxwell for some 7 years and was able to come in and finish that off. That was important because those two individuals were not only, great in the sense that they came in and understood the school system. They were two individuals who actually went through our school system. They were Prince George's products. They had come from K through 12 all the way through graduation right here in Prince George's County and knew our schools and came back and taught and still live in our county. And so here are the things that we did during that time that I think has reshaped our school system and why we saw our numbers go up. One of the things I challenged Dr. Maxwell on was to bring back arts program and music programs throughout all of Prince George's County schools, not just for a select few, but through every school, so that our children had the opportunity to learn the arts as they were growing up, just like they do in private schools. They make it an important part to have a well-rounded education. So I challenged him to do that, and we expanded it throughout all of our schools. The other thing was health was a real critical issue. Mental and behavioral health, family health. And so together with the county administration and with Dr. Maxwell, we opened more health clinics in our schools than had ever been seen before. We also, through our Transforming Neighborhoods initiative, put social workers in our schools. So we called it T&I in our schools. We brought all of the government to those schools in need. And then we built some programs that I think are just beyond fantastic. A commitment to the vocational education. Dr. Maxwell himself came through a vocational education in Prince George's County. So his commitment to expanding it and making it robust was something that we saw in the county. And then in that piece that Kevin just played, you saw the fire chief, Chief Bayshore, and I talking to a classroom. That wasn't simply for career day. That was explaining to our children the opportunities to work here in Prince George's County in our fire department with a program that we had, our cadet program that we put in some of our middle schools and high schools to expose them to opportunities right here in their home in these careers, fire and EMS, our police department, our park and planning. So really teaming up to give them a chance. And then we expanded what we call our P-TECH program, which was looking at various careers and the community college so that our kids could get, just think about this. I wish this was around when I had my children in the school. You could go to the community college and get associate degree in health sciences. That was the first one we did. But also we expanded it to other areas. So you could come out of school, high school, with an associate's degree in health science or dental technician, all of those, or just a, associate degree, which meant that you could go onto a 4-year institution and only have to pay 2 years for your child. Your child would be able to graduate in 2 years, um, ahead of time with less debt. And so those are the things that we did, and many more. I think the thing, if Dr. Maxwell was here, or Dr. Golson was here, and or Dr. Segun Eubanks, who was the chair of our school board at the time, what they would probably talk about is the diversity in the work staff at the school system. That was important. We're a diverse county. We have folks from all over the world, all parts of Africa, Asia, South America, Central America, and having a workforce that understands that and reflects that is an opportunity for our kids to know that they can have these positions. So we're very proud of that. And our graduation rate, that's something that was questioned during my administration. At the time, the governor, Republican governor, challenged our graduation rates in the county, and the state looked into it for 2 years and found out that Prince George's County's graduation rates were exactly what we said. We increased the number of kids who graduated, were able to go into the military, go into go on to college, go on to work. And so we're very proud of the fact that the enrollment went up, but also our graduation rates for our kids went up. And then finally, our truancy rate, which is something we focus on, which was really high, went down. Because kids can't learn if they're not in school. And so we spent a lot of time working with those children and their parents.
So a couple of follow-up questions from Instagram. One is still on the MGM topic, and basically they're just trying to figure out, I guess, where is that 25% being spent in this education budget? And I guess
here's what I did, and I will do this again for our education budget. And that's a good question, and it's a question today I can't answer because I don't have the budget before me. But I can tell you what I will do as county executive, and what I did in the past is that, people talked throughout the debates about audits. I'm going to audit, this and that. Well, every year you prepare your budget, you do an audit. At least as county executive, every year when I'm preparing the budget, we audited every agency to see where they were spending. And so one of the agencies and one of the places was our school budget, because it's 62%. And so what we had, Dr. Maxwell and Dr. Golson and Dr. Eubanks, who was the chair of the school board, what we had them do every year before we prepared our budget is to sit down and give us a detail of where they had spent the money the previous year, what were the outcomes, and what was the plan for if you want an increase, like for MGM, you're going to get an extra set of dollars. What are you doing with those dollars? What is the direct impact on our education system? So we actually saw where the money was going. So if you ask me about my budget when I was county executive for our school system, I can tell you where we spent extra dollars. Now, we didn't have the full, $47 million from MGM, but the extra dollars that we spent in the school system went directly into making sure that, one, that all of our children throughout K through middle school were receiving free lunch. We decided we wanted kids to be in school, to push back against truancy issues, that we would offer breakfast and lunch for all of our kids. We would put that money in that program. Health programs, making sure that we had health officers or health nurses and health at our schools. We even put some of the money to do um, a dental clinic on wheels. So we had a bus that would go to our challenging schools and would provide dental care free of charge for our kids and their parents. And this is to make sure that those things that were keeping kids away. Language arts. I'm a big proponent of having our kids learn two languages at least. Proficient in English. I would like Spanish, but I told Dr. Maxwell and his team to expand it. So I could point to how we spent the money. The same way I could point to how the money was spent at the community college. We built a state-of-the-art culinary arts center that provided an opportunity not only for the students at the community college, but for our high school students to go there. So you can do that. You can look at where the money is spent and the direct impact, and then decide whether you want to fund those things with the money. And that's what I would do as county executive, to make sure we're spending those dollars where they have the greatest impact. Some of that money, quite honestly, should be spent certainly on safety. Certainly that's both inside the building and our bus system. One of the things that I think is just really bad for us in the county is we're one of the few regions, few areas in this Washington region that treats our bus drivers as seasonal employees. So every year they come here, we hire a new crop of folks. We don't get we don't get the best out of that. So we're training bus drivers every year. We should do like some of the Northern Virginia counties where they keep them throughout the year. And so using some of that money. The other is and this came up on Saturday, our long-term subs. We have substitute teachers who come into our schools who provide a great service to us, but they don't get health care, they don't get benefits. And so other jurisdictions are using extra dollars to keep those long-term subs with benefits and health care so that they stay on our rolls. And we need them because a lot of times, especially in our language arts, whether it's Spanish or things of that nature, we lose teachers to other jurisdiction and we rely on a sub, but that person isn't proficient in Spanish. So that's not just speaking Spanish, it's also being able to write. And so I think those are areas where I would look at the budget. I know I paid a lot of attention to the budget from the school system, which is why I had a education liaison from my office that looked at this budget as it was being prepared by the school system, but also audited by us in the county executive office.
Appreciate that. There was one other one. Let me try to find it. So are officers the only de-escalation resources at the schools?
Yeah, they are the only. But I like that question because here's something I've been thinking about. Um, we have a great group of individuals at our hospital, University of Maryland Medical System, where these individuals, it's elite security, and their specialty is in de-escalation and training that. What I would propose is that the de-escalation training not only be for the officers who come in. This is part of their routine. If you were a former police officer or a police officer now, then you've had that de-escalation training. But if you're a security personnel in our schools, you haven't gone through that. And so we should have that training for those individuals who provide security. They're not armed, but they provide security on de-escalation, but also other individuals in our school system. So I think that would be a good, especially in these times we live in, where everybody's nervous. We see incidents in our schools every day throughout the country, that we provide that type of training to our principals, our vice principals, and to individuals who want to know about it, our teachers. Not that we're going to ask them to provide security, but we just want people to be trained who might come across a situation. So that's an area I would put some dollars toward.
Excellent, excellent. So there are There was one other question in on Instagram. Okay, so you touched on this earlier, but it might be good to restate it. So, what's your plan for property tax reduction?
Yeah, this is an area where I think we have to, really go. I always call it go left. Go against the grain. Right now, because of the budget deficit, everybody's trying to figure out how to get more resources in. The best way to do that is to start looking at lowering our property taxes, which will force us as a county to pay more attention to increasing our business tax. And the way you increase the business tax is to have more businesses. And so what I would propose is that, to the council, that we lower the property taxes, that we take money out of our rainy day fund, which I took money, $50 million, and put it in our economic development incentive fund that directly invested in businesses, to hire people in Prince George's County, to hire more folks who paid more income tax and built up our tax base. Bring more businesses in here. That's why we went after MGM. That's why we went after Tanger Outlet, Dave and Buster's, Whole Foods Development, Top Golf, all of these things, Harris Teeter, all of those things I've just named actually bring employees and resources to the county. And I think that should be our focus. Right now, that development incentive fund is down to $15 million. I think we should put it back to 50 and even try and get it up to higher than that, maybe $70 million. But really to put that money back into the economy and grow our business. So people, who are on a fixed income or just in general, look at the property taxes that we spend here in the county, and they look at the services and amenities they're getting, and they say, well, why should I stay here? If I don't feel safe, if I don't have places to eat and shop, then why should I stay here? So I think we have to lower the property taxes and go in and really do this. I explained it to people, especially now, that what I'm proposing is not any different than the Biden administration did with its Build Back Better program. They actually took money from the government and put it into the economy in construction projects, in infrastructure projects. We can do the same thing, but ours would be around attracting businesses. We have Amazon warehouses here. We should have an Amazon office. We have the commanders that are talking about leaving this area. We should use that money to keep them here because it is a source of revenue coming in. We certainly want to build upon the FBI. We want to make sure they come here. The other place that is a way that we can invest our dollars and see a return on them is around the healthcare industry. If you look at where the new regional medical system is located, it's located right there in downtown Largo. And we have a cancer research center there also. So we have a health complex. We have Children's Hospital, which has an office here. We have Kaiser Permanente. So I think for us is to invest in the technology around healthcare and keeping people safe as a way of expanding our commercial tax base, hiring more people, and in that way, we expand our commercial tax base and are able to hold down our property taxes.
Some other questions that have been coming in are also kind of along the same economic development route, but more so about housing. There is this townhouse moratorium, and folks are just looking at how do we increase the affordability of housing when we're not increasing the housing stock.
Right. I mean, for the housing, I think the people who did the townhouse moratorium, I know they thought they were doing the right thing, but really, that's not the answer. Because one, you can't talk about moratoriums and affordability. Most folks start off their housing in any place, just like I did when I was buying the first house. You get a starter home. It's usually a townhouse. It's something you can afford. It's in an area. But I think what we should be doing now that we've learned that this is not a bedroom community in Prince George's County. This is not 1978 or even 1980. Um, this is where you do mixed use development. And here's the example I give to everyone. Um, if you look at what we did with New Carrollton, which at the time that I came in as county executive and the time that I moved to this county was just really a railroad station. You had Amtrak, you had, Greyhound bus there, you had the Metro, but you didn't have anything else. People just went through it. It was a way station. Instead, we said, what happens if we actually use the fact that there's transportation here and do a mixed use development? So you bring in condos, you bring in townhouses, you bring in restaurants, you bring in shopping, and you make it someplace where people are not only living, working, but playing, being entertained. And so mixed use development is the way to go for most of our county because we really are in hubs that are urban more so than suburban. So it's not just for New Carrollton. The same concept I use building around Branch Avenue Metro. The same concept in Largo. That's why we anchored it with a hospital. And the same thing we're going to do in Cheverly, where the old hospital was, taking that site and doing mixed use development. So I think our approach should be anytime we're building housing, it should not just be housing. Another great example is Woodmore Town Center. If you're old enough, you'll remember that Woodmore Town Center had Costco's and Wegmans, which are great, but there was really nothing else there. And so we brought in housing, we brought in townhouses, but we also brought in restaurants. We upped the town center itself. That's where Nordstrom Rack came in. That's where a variety of restaurants came there. Is it fully complete the way we want it? No. But right now, we have the foot traffic during the day because our government buildings are there. And it allows us to do these things. So my approach is to make sure if we're doing, a big housing complex, that is not just a big housing complex. The exception to that is in some of our southern regions, where we're more rural than we are suburban. And so for me, you use the concept that we did with Brandywine Crossing. Since we know we're in the southern part of the county, we want destination places where they go, not just MGM and Gaylord and National Harbor, but we did Brandywine Crossing so we could capture that market, those folks who are going to Charles County to eat and to be entertained. So if you go to Brandywine Crossing, it's a destination place. People drive to it. But because it's done so well, you're starting to see townhouses in the back of it. So people can live, work, and play in that area. But it started as a place where folks from the southern part could go to and, not just Costco's, but, Target and other places that are there. And so I think that's the concept. Now, on the affordable housing piece, real quick, I think that's where we can play a significant role. The county is one of the best places to start your journey of home ownership. It's the most affordable in any place in the Washington region. But we just have to make sure the quality of those houses or what they should be, and that there's transportation to get people back and forth. And so that would be my commitment. It's one of the reasons I fought to make sure that we have the state, Maryland State Department of Housing and Community Development right here in Prince George's County so that we could work hand in hand with them to tackle some of these critical issues of housing insecurity.
And you mentioned the commanders a couple times in there. So what's, that's the big talk right now. So what's your plans for the commanders? I would love if you just tell the whole story about DC the first time.
I hear people get enthusiastic about the commanders now, and they're all rah rah rah, especially the district. I tell the story when I was county executive. RG3 was the quarterback. and we went to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. And then DC started calling. They were like, "Well, we want the Washington team back in Washington." And my good friend Vince Gray called me and said, "Hey, you know, the Washington team should be in Washington, and I've got a deal for you. I'll take the team and give you the FBI." And so I told him, I said, "How about this? I got a deal for you. I'll keep the team and I'll take the FBI." I say that to say, people get excited when the team is winning, and they that's when they want you to come back. But we're keeping them here. This is their home. We've got a contract with them through 2027, I believe, if I have the numbers right. So the way that I negotiated the last time with the team ownership, and I negotiated with them, is to say, we get what you want. You want the fan experience. You want this to be, the Washington team, Commanders, were rated as one of the least desirable fan experience. So how do we up that? The way that you do it is you start building things around the stadium. The first thing is hotels, entertainment, and you're seeing that now. That's why we anchored the hospital near there, near Landover. We're building out what used to be the Cap Center, the Boulevard, bringing in new restaurants. But we also need a new stadium. They do need a new stadium. It should be closer to the metro so that, like the old RFK, that you can actually get off the metro system and walk to the game, and therefore making it easier for folks to commute back and forth. And we need a dome stadium. If we had a dome here in this area, then we can make a real pitch for getting the Super Bowl here. Now, wouldn't that be great? We've got these hotels in the county that can fill up. Whether it's the hotel at the University of Maryland, which is a 5-star hotel, whether it's our hotels at National Harbor, whether it's our hotels throughout that Largo area, which offer some really great things. So I think we're going to be able to keep the team. And what I've said to them, the last ownership, and I'll say to the new ownership, if you don't want to stay in downtown Largo, then I've got a place for you. And it's called our entertainment district in Prince George's County, which is National Harbor. Just think about it. That's the place. If you're coming to Prince George's County from Virginia or around the world, first of all, we built MGM so that you could see it from a plane as you're landing at Reagan Airport, because I want people from around the nation, around the world, to see that facility and say, hey, I want to go visit it. But there's an opportunity to actually move the team to the southern part of our county at National Harbor. There's federal land that we can negotiate with the federal government, build a dome stadium, and then that would put us in line to build a metro across the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. So people coming from Virginia could get on at Eisenhower and get off in Prince George's County. It will also help the traffic of folks coming from the southern part of Maryland. So having a stadium there, imagine us having a stadium in the southern part of the county, a dome stadium, where people are taking public transportation. They could also take these water taxis when the weather's nice that will take them from Alexandria, the Navy Yard, Georgetown, and other areas. And you could take that over to Prince George's County and see a game, stay in our hotels. Wouldn't it be, imagine this, baseball season and football season overlap, during October, to be able to see a game at the ballpark in DC, and then catch the ferry over to Prince George's County and see a football game. So we're keeping the team, though.
Sorry, I was trying to get back to the screen there. So we're at 11 o'clock. We're going to do an hour here today. Definitely have a long schedule to get to. So we appreciate you all joining us on all channels. X is going strong. Facebook, I see y'all too. Instagram, appreciate you. So, Mr. Baker, if you could just give some final remarks, and then we'll get on with the day.
Okay. Let me just, first of all, thank you for tuning in. This is an important election. It's probably the most important election I've seen in a long time. And I say that because of everything that's going on. Every day when we wake up, we hear some more craziness coming from our federal government. Another agency has been shut down. People don't know the status of whether they'll have a job tomorrow, next year. And so people are nervous. The same thing at our state. The budget deficit balloons up to $2.1 billion or $3 billion. Every day people are concerned. And the county is the same way. We have divisive politics here. We can't elect a council chair. At the same time, we're dealing with a $170 million budget deficit. People are scared. Crime is rising. We have to be honest about that so that we can deal with it. It is rising and people don't feel safe. Our economy is stagnant. So at this critical point in our election, the next county executive has to be county executive on March 4th. And I say that a lot because it's really important. And so that person has to know what they're doing. And so when I talk about the things that I did from 2010 to 2018, it's not just a rehash and go down memory lane. It's to set a marker, is to set a foundation to say, I know what I'm doing. These are when I talk about expanding our economy, it's not a guess, it's not what I think, is what I know and I've done. And so it shows that. And I think that's why it's critical that we get someone who knows what they're doing. I know this county. I love this county. I am ready to roll up my sleeves and get back to work. I know how to increase our economy. I know how to make sure that we attract the women and men for our public safety that we need, and that we, make sure that this is the place to be, that people want to come here and work, play, and live. And so I need your help, though. We're right here at early voting starts on Wednesday. March 4th is the election. So many of you have your ballots at your house. I want you to fill them out. I'm asking for your vote. Please vote for Rushern Baker and stay tuned, and let's make this county the place to be again. Thank you.
We got work to do, and this is the man that can do it. And for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, I am giving all of my enthusiastic support to Rushern Baker to be the next county executive.
In Kennedy City on a Hill, he projected 4 years down the road and said, what do I want people to remember of this government?
Our success or failure in whatever office we may hold will be measured by the answers to 4 questions. First, were we truly men of courage?
Right now, say we are moving straight ahead.
Secondly, were we truly men of judgment?
Invested in economic development growth, because we know in the long run, creating jobs and opportunities is what's going to get us back to what we should be doing.
Third, were we truly men of integrity? Finally, were we truly men of dedication?
That became the focus to me of what I hope to be the Baker administration. We were not willing just to sit on our hands or play it safe. We were courageous in going after economic development. Thriving economy was important at a $75 million budget deficit, when we were leading the nation in foreclosures, when Wall Street was threatening to take away our AAA bond rating. And we believed in our county so much that we took $50 million and bet on ourselves to invest in ourselves. Having a thriving economy was important, and we did it. From National Harbor to the Suitland Town Center to New Carrollton. The other area where we were courageous, I believe, is our Transforming Neighborhoods Initiative, where we said the government was going to focus on areas that I felt had been forgotten. The 6 areas of our county at that time that were in the worst shape. All indicators showed that those areas were going in the wrong direction. We were going to commit ourselves to not leaving until they change. I think the beauty of T&I in the areas is that there are groups of citizens who now know how to access and get government to deliver for them. When I took over as county executive, our school system had gone from 132,000 children to 124,000 to where we are today at 133,000. And we're gaining each year. People are now putting their kids back because they believe that our school system now can offer them a chance for them to get a quality education. Our education system is the best it's been in almost 35 years. For the first time, our education budget is $2 billion. We as a county committed to give more money ourselves, not from the state, but from the county to our education system. And it was hard. It was a hard-fought thing to do, but we did it as a county. The county is the safest it's ever been. If you think about the 2018 county executive race, crime was not the issue. I know that we've done a good job on safe neighborhoods. Not when I can look at the numbers and it tells me crime is down. It's that when I walk into a place and I talk to people and they feel safer, that they feel it themselves, then we know we've done our job. I've seen firsthand why having access to quality health care is so important. Just like the opportunities my family has for quality health care, I want for everyone in Prince George's County. We're building a brand new regional medical center in Prince George's County to take the place of the old falling down Prince George's Hospital. It's about integrating healthcare throughout the county, which was the goal of our administration from the very beginning. We wanted our government to be effective and efficient, and to understand that our residents are our customers. Because if people don't believe the government's going to deliver for them, they don't turn to it. And I wanted people to believe that if they call 311 or if they access county stat, that we'd actually deliver those effective services for them. When people are most in need, whether it's from natural disasters, whether it's our social services or our family services, our health department, really delivering those services when they most are in need. And so I'm glad that we've been able to do that. Prince George's County is a leader and recognized by the Obama administration as being one of the top areas in the country when it comes to the environment. We lead the state in recycling. We lead the state in waste diversion. We have the largest composting facility on the East Coast, and we've created sustainable jobs out of the green economy.
I knew two things. I knew you, and I knew me. And I knew that if we worked together, wishes, dreams, hopes turn into reality. Today in this great county, it is a wish, it is a dream, and it was a hope that made us #1 in job creation. It was a wish, it was a dream, it was a hope that made $8 billion worth of development happening at once. It was a wish, and it was a dream, and it was a hope.
I want to thank the residents of Prince George's County for giving me an opportunity to live out my dream. Since I was 17 years old, I wanted to be in a position where I thought I could improve the quality of life for others. These last 8 years as county executive, the residents of this county have given me an opportunity I never thought I'd get. And there are times when I didn't think I deserved it. But I'm so appreciative of your belief in me. And I hope at the end of the day, you feel like I've done just a little good.